with episode 9 of SGCom's Corner. Wow, what a journey this has been. Wrapping up season 1 and looking forward to season 2. Do stay tuned. We also have a competition lined up at the end of our segment, so don't miss it. You have to watch till the end. So today's topic focuses on the business of the business, managing your finances in your business and handling the administration effectively. We know that as entrepreneurs, we hardly ever have time to be looking at the rands and the cents and how they come and how they go. But that plays a very, very important role when it comes to business sustainability, when it comes to business development, and also when it comes to expansion. So today we're going to be covering what are the financial goals of the company? Have you established what the financial goals are of the company? How is the money, the profit, or the turnover being handled? Do you get a whole lot of money where you see hundreds of thousands of rands in your bank account and think, oh, yay, I finally get my fancy car that I've been waiting for, or let me splurge a little just to give myself a pat on the back? Or do you have a sustainable plan in terms of how the money is going to be spent? Speaking of sustainability, we also look at how we are going to manage the business 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the line if we don't have a new retainer. Does the company have enough money to sustain itself? Or would you be finding yourself in a business rescue kind of situation? So these are the tips and the tricks and the pointers that we're going to be looking at in terms of creating a sustainable business model and also to manage your finances within the business going forward. So let's get right into it. So first things first, in the business of the business, learn to manage your finances. Now guys, I know this is such a difficult one because I am also very, very guilty of sneaking a bit of money here and a bit of money there from the business in my own personal life. But the way in which a business grows and is able to sustain itself is by having a separate account from your personal account. So first things first, when you set up your business, after you've done your registration and your CIPC and your BEE certificates and all that good stuff, then you go and you register a business bank account so that your money that goes into the business comes from the business and goes to the business in helping it grow. So like with a financial budget, you have to have a business budget. And what I've learned is managing my personal finances first helps me then manage my business finances as well. So getting your finances right, knowing how much you make, how much you spend, and looking at the difference between helps you in your business as well. Knowing how much the business makes versus how much the business spends and what is left in between. That is where you can see how much you're making, how much more you need to make in order to scale up, to manage your money efficiently in terms of having that rainy day money for your business too, should anything happen. Understanding that there will be things that come out of nowhere, so having that emergency fund for your business, and also for sustainability and for funding purposes. You know, when a funder looks at your income statements or the statements that come out of your business account, do they trust that if they put money into your account, it's going to be put to good use? If they see various little items that don't necessarily speak to the business, that could also be very detrimental for you. So let's look at what financial sustainability is all about when it comes to going into your financial plan. Number 1 is improving your profit margins. Look at ways of how can I improve my profit margins? Now, the only way you can see this is by being very active in tracking how much money you actually make in the business, because you won't know how to go from one profit margin to the next if you don't know how much you've actually made in the year. Improving your profit margins also helps you in terms of strategizing and being innovative in the way in which you do things. If you find that if I need to be at the office maybe earlier than later, if I need to complete my administration, if I need to maybe find innovative tools online that will help me manage my business faster so that I can get more clients on board, or that I can automate certain things, that I don't necessarily have to log and type and, not have templates. Having templates is very important, especially when it comes to owning or running a small business in terms of invoicing, frequently asked questions, and, how business is run. Good governance is also a very important element. You may think governance is for those big companies or the big organizations, but having good governance is absolutely important even in your small business. Now, having a system or policy in a way that your business works should not be in your head only. It also needs to be written down. This is for good contingency and also to leave a legacy in the company. We find a lot with these companies, especially the small companies, that they've really done well. But when a partner or when the owner passes away or has, a tragic illness, the company doesn't continue because there were no policies that were put in place. So having basic policies, just writing down step by step how the business actually operates, will actually save you from a lifetime of struggle and also help your business sustain itself long after you have left. Looking at ways of cutting costs. Where can you cut costs in the business? This having of a budget helps in terms of helping you cut your costs. I know when I started the business, having a lot of coffee meetings, lunch meetings, dinner meetings, because I didn't have a space, was actually more detrimental to the business than I thought it was. When I took the slips and collected them and actually found out how much money I was actually spending on these coffee dates and these lunch business meetings that I kept, inviting people or potential clients or service providers for, was very costly. So a way of cutting a cost there was to find out if the person I'm meeting with has office space or has office premises where I could then just go and meet with them at their space. If not, looking at a lucrative or a small space where I can maybe rent or hire for X amount of time and have a meeting with that particular person and maybe use that space for Wi-Fi purposes, for having other meetings or to record any type of content that I needed. So once I started seeing this is where my costs are being spent a lot, I had then had solutions or had other options of finding out how best to eliminate that. If you do not know what is taking up your company's money, then you will not be able to find these solutions or find new ways of doing things. So understanding how much money you make versus how much money gets out of the business helps you to then cut your costs and use your company's money more efficiently. Number 3, increasing of sales. When we look at increasing sales, I know that when we started at SG Comms, we literally took on every role that we could ever find. If someone wanted, a caterer, we would outsource, find a caterer, add a mock-up. If someone wanted this, we would find something, put it together and send it out. But doing that did not necessarily help the business grow, in the sense that being a jack of all trades is not always the best way in growing your business. Once we found our niche, over time, however, we realized that let us maximize on the 3 things or the 3 pillars that we are doing best, and look for more jobs and look for more gigs and look for more contracts and look for more retainers in the 3 things that we specialize in. So once we looked, once again, going back to your budget book, going back to your invoices versus money out, we find that if it takes me X amount of money to put together a social media campaign and also it gets me this amount of money, then maybe I should start focusing on social media campaigns. If I see that branding, I make a very small margin in terms of putting t-shirts and branding apparel for other companies is only making me X amount of money, but it actually takes a lot to put it together, then maybe it's not worth it. Rather, let me just outsource it or give the business to someone who specializes in that element. If I look at training, that I've got the content that needs to for the person to train, and I go out and I do the training and I make X amount of money, then maybe I should focus on the training. If we get events that are of a certain stature or are of X amount, it is worth our time, therefore we will do more of those. So understanding what makes the most money in your business and capitalizing on that will definitely help you increase your sales and also not overexert yourself. You know, as much as you want to be busy or be seen as busy, there is a difference between being busy and being productive. So learning to be productive does take time because, in the beginning, we all want to have a little piece of every bit of the pie, but you find that you will grow really tired and weary and you will not necessarily see the financial results. So increasing your sales strategically, looking at the things that you are really good at and what makes the most money, focusing on those, and then getting more of those contracts will then help you increase your sales more efficiently. And then managing your cash flow. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to manage cash flow. Like I said, I am speaking to myself here because I know that when the going gets tough and my salary that I got from SG Comms is up, you sometimes kind of get tempted to say, let me just take a little bit out of the business, or let me swipe this as a business transaction, knowing full well that it isn't. When your funder looks at your business's transactions and they see a lot of transactions that do not speak to the business, that do not build the business and do not grow the business, they are therefore not going to be confident in giving you their money because they'll feel that if Sasetu can use her money on X, Y, and Z, then who is to say that if I give her this 500 Rand or 500,000 Rands worth of funding, that she is actually going to spend the funding based on what is required. So look at your transactions because they also speak to your spending behavior. Your transactions speak to the way in which you manage your money, and they also speak to the financer or the financier to say, this person is capable or not capable of managing their money. When it comes to effective governance, governance is a very important factor in business. As I had already mentioned, having policies in place or having a way of doing things is imperative, even if you are running a small business. When it comes to legislation and compliance, it is such an important element of the business. When you have registered your company, understanding that you need to be CIPC compliant, having your BE up to scratch, and your tax. If you have permanent employees, do they have a pay-as-you-earn number? Do they have UIF? Do they have the necessary things that are required from SARS? And if you do not know how these things work, get yourself someone who can assist, such as a bookkeeper, an accountant, or go directly to SARS to find out, am I 100% compliant? There's nothing worse than being slapped with a very, very, very big bill at the end of your financial year to say that you owe SARS X amount of money without you knowing that you were due to pay X amount for your staff, for your income, and for the workings of your company. So make sure that you are tax compliant, as if you're not tax compliant, it will affect you if you want to bid in a tender, if you want to apply for grant funding in other states or even in our state. It can also then affect you in terms of the running of the business, because now you're going to have to factor in large amounts of money that you didn't necessarily budget for in paying back to SARS, so that you are compliant and are able to run the business as fully and functionally as you possibly can. Have a look at your audit reports. How is the company being run? Is it being run legitimately? And once again, get assistance if you do not know how to manage these things. I know for a fact that when it comes to managing my financials, I rely on my bookkeeper. However, I also need to understand what is going on in my business. So daily tracking or weekly tracking of money coming in versus money going out. Is everyone paid? Do I have my portion that I paid to SARS? Is that declared to SARS on a month-to-month basis? That is the business of the business. So being compliant financially and also legislatively can set you apart from your small business and also help you scale and grow into larger companies. So you may be asking yourself, how do I get my ducks in a row? First things first, looking at your BE scorecard, and if you have perhaps 50% black females, or if you're at a level 3 and you're looking to become a level 1 contributor, then look at other ways of how you can emancipate or help other black males and females under the age of 35 in providing some form of income, or providing some way of upskilling them in order for you to also then up your BE scorecard. Secondly, reducing your overheads, looking at ways of how to minimize your cost or save in one way or another. If, for instance, you are owning a large office space, that you can maybe outsource an office or a room to another company in order to save you from paying the entire amount. Or collaborating, looking at other people to work with in terms of putting jobs together where you split the costs or split the capital that is required in obtaining or doing the job, and then also obviously splitting the profits or the shares that come with the project. There are many ways that you can find in terms of minimizing how best or how effectively to work. I mean, now that we have come out of a time of COVID-19, we found that office space or real estate is not necessary in order to make the company fully functional. If your company can afford to not be in a space and work efficiently, then you can create a home environment or have a station inside your house where you don't pay rent at all, because we find that rent takes up quite a bit of your operational costs, and maybe save there. Look at subsidies, look at ways of subsidizing your income or helping the company not necessarily spend every cent from the company, but if there are any government funds or any funds from international funders that are able to assist in the running of the company, consider those, apply for those, and help your company grow. Also, implementing a financial management system. Having a financial management system does not have to be something that is pie in the sky or very complex, but just understanding what I said from the beginning, how much money your company makes and how much it spends, and where you want the company to go. You cannot grow if you don't know where you're going. So understand, this is where the company is at, this is where the company wants to be, and these are the steps that we are going to take in order to make it grow. Have little 90-day challenges for yourself, or have quarterly goals, so that not everything is so overwhelming. Focus on one thing for 90 days and improve the art or improve the craft or improve the way you do things, and you'll find that after each 90-day segment, your company actually improves at an exponential rate because you focused on one thing at a time. Look at the governance systems, look at the financial systems, look at money coming in versus going out, and look at how the company can grow. So once you break it up into smaller chunks, it then feels more manageable, and you feel that you are actually capable of making this happen. So when you're looking at company growth, know that you have to be compliant in order to bid for bigger tenders or to be a part of larger forms of income, and also to get funding from funding agencies, whether nationally, internationally, private or governmental. You have to be compliant. And then in terms of compliance, are your employees registered with SARS and the UIF? Do they have their percentages? Do they know the percentage of their income that goes to the UIF and their pay as you earn to SARS? Once again, if you are not well versed in this, don't worry. There are people who are there who are able to assist within this regard. So go to someone who is from a accredited financial service provider or has the qualification to assist you in that regard, so that you can optimally work as best as you can and focus on what you do, which is running the business, and also be conscious of how much and what goes in and out of your business, but having a professional coming in and making sure those structures are being put in place. There are also support services like your Biz Assist. SARS also has an online platform that can assist you within this regard, or also just reach out to many. There are many bookkeepers and financial accountants who can help put your business in structure. So you may be asking yourself, but why is the fuss? Why do I have to make sure that my ducks are in a row and the business of the business is taken care of? Like I've mentioned multiple times, this helps in terms of business expansion. If you are looking to franchise your company one day, this is where it starts. It starts right here. It doesn't need to be a big multinational company with 4,000 staff members or whatever the case may be. Your company can be at a franchisable space if it works correctly, if your policies are in place, if you are compliant, and if you are therefore eligible to be able to qualify to franchise your company. So applications for funding also are very big when it comes to compliance. And also it helps them understand that you know exactly what is going on in your business. Many of us might find that, I'm making X amount of money, I've got 9 or 10 people working for me, and I'm doing this and that and the other. But when it comes to the actual financial feasibility of the company, or how much the company makes, some of us don't even know what the answers are. So you may be asking yourself, what is the fuss? Why is it so important for me to be compliant? And why is it so important for me to be financially stable? First and foremost, COVID has shown us that a lot can happen in 6 months, a lot can happen in 12 months, and a lot can happen in 18 months. Is my company able to sustain itself for 6 months if things go pear-shaped, or if we are faced with a global pandemic that might not necessarily bring us the business that we are used to? Do we have rainy day money for our business should something occur and a large cost is needed and it doesn't form part of the monthly money that we make? Are we able to sustain ourselves even after the pandemic, or after these things that we don't know come out of? This is why it is important to have a financial management system in place, to have that rainy day money for your business, and also to be conscious of how you spend your money. Being compliant is just as important, because this is where you can apply for government funding, for international funding, for private funding. They look at compliance issues to say that, are you meeting the needs of the required compliance statutes that are here in South Africa? If not, then you are going to miss out on opportunities by simple things of having expired BEE dates or having expired CIPC docs, whereas these are things that can be done in time and can take a few minutes or a few hours in your business time, but can have long-term effects. And also finally, seeing the bigger picture, seeing your company grow year on year on year, and understanding where it makes the most money and how best to maximize it in order for you to make more money and see how far the business can go. I mean, as an entrepreneur, all we want is to increase our profit margins and make sure that we are building year on year on year. So when we understand the business of the business, understanding the ins and outs of what is happening in our business, that is where we understand how our business can grow, the capacity at which it can grow, and where to look out for those blind spots that may hit us during such times as the pandemic and other forces that we may not be aware of when going into business. The journey of business is a beautiful one. It is a very trying one. It can be a lonely and scary one, but if you have the structures in place, it can be one of the greatest experiences you could ever have in your life. And that brings us to the end of our episode today. Please be sure to share, to like and subscribe. And like I said, we have a competition. So do stick around and hear what the competition is all about. And also it brings us to the end of season 1. So we'd love to hear from you guys. What do you want to see in season 2? Who would you like to see in season 2? And what kind of content do you want SGCOM's Corner to bring to you? Once again, a very big thank you to my team at the Hangaround Media Company, who keeps bringing the best and just keeps doing better. Their contacts are down here below, so please do check them out. And if you have any videography, production needs, please hit them up. And that brings us to the end of our season 1. So thank you to everyone who's contributed. Thank you to your responses, and thank you to my subscribers. We still haven't gotten a name, so I'm still calling you the SGCommers. So thank you guys, and looking forward to season 2 with you, where we go bigger and we do better. From me, Sesetu Komo Sepokwe, it's been real. Thank you so much, and see you next time.